America is facing two big problems. More people are becoming homeless, and rents are higher than ever before. The American dream of owning a home with a yard for kids is getting harder to reach. Many middle-class people, who used to be able to buy homes, are now struggling. The cost of living is going up, but wages aren't keeping up. This isn't just about numbers. It's about real people like teachers, nurses, and firefighters who can't afford homes anymore. For a long time, owning a home was normal and showed stability in America, but things have changed. More and more middle-class families are renting instead of buying homes. This is a quiet crisis happening all over the country. These families are stuck paying rent with little hope of ever owning their own place. The cost of everything is going up: food, gas, and especially housing, but wages haven't gone up as much. The middle class is feeling squeezed from all sides. It's hard to save money for a down payment when most of your income goes to rent. The American dream is slipping away, replaced by a harsh reality. This isn't just a problem for individuals, it's a crisis affecting our whole country. When families struggle to pay rent, they have to cut back on important things like food, healthcare, and education. This leads to more inequality and a less stable society. Recent data shows that over 653,000 people in America are now homeless. This is a 12% increase in just 1 year, which is a big jump. There are many reasons for this increase, including high rents, mental health problems, addiction, and more people seeking asylum. In New York City alone, about 123,000 people are in shelters, and 67,000 of them are asylum seekers. But it's not just asylum seekers who are having trouble. Nearly 60,000 people in New York's shelters are there because they can't afford housing. This is happening all over the country, from Arizona to Ohio. Rents are going up fast, pushing more people towards homelessness. There aren't enough affordable homes, so many people are competing for the same limited options. Rising rents are a big part of this problem.
Hey everyone, we are sorry to interrupt you, but we need your help. If you like this video so far, may you kindly give this video a like and subscribe to our channel. This will really help us a lot and we owe it all to you. Thank you.
When people can't afford to rent a home, they often end up on the streets. In some areas, rents have gone up by more than 20% since 2020. This makes it almost impossible for middle-class families to find affordable housing. The numbers tell a clear story. Nearly 43 million families in America are renting. That's the highest number ever. Young people who grew up after the 2008 recession are having the hardest time. They have student loan debt and low wages, so they're waiting longer to get married and buy homes. When they do try to buy, they find they can't afford it. For many, renting is the only choice. This isn't just a problem for young people, it shows a bigger issue affecting Americans of all ages. The cost of living has gone up a lot in recent years, but wages haven't kept up. This has created the perfect situation for a housing crisis. Student loan debt has become a huge problem, making it almost impossible for many to save for a down payment on a home. The average student loan debt in the US is over $37,000. That's a big burden when you're trying to pay rent every month. This debt is stopping a whole generation from building wealth and feeling financially secure. Even people who used to be financially stable are finding it hard to keep up. The number of middle-class families who are renting has gone up by 82%. This big change from owning to renting shows that something is really wrong with the system. The American dream of owning a home with a white picket fence is getting harder to reach for the middle class. Houses, especially in niche city and suburban areas, have become very expensive. The average home price in the United States is now over $400,000. That's way too much for many middle-class families. The housing crisis isn't just about supply and demand. It shows that the system doesn't match the reality of working families. Wages have stayed the same for decades, not keeping up with the rising cost of living, especially housing. This means that even people with steady jobs and good incomes can't afford to buy a home. For middle-class families stuck renting, things are getting worse. Rent prices keep going up, just like house prices. In many big cities, the average rent for a modest two-bedroom apartment is now over $2,000 per month. This takes up a big part of a family's income, leaving little money for savings or even basic needs. The impact of rising rents is huge. Over 8 million people in America are behind on their rent payments. About 2.3 million people have seen their rent go up by more than $500 in just the last year. In expensive cities like New York, where the average rent is now $5,600 a month, many families are being forced to move out. Even in states that used to be cheaper, like Arizona and Ohio, rents are going up fast. When people have to spend 30% to 50% of their income on rent, they have less money for other important things like food, healthcare, and transportation. If something unexpected happens, like a big medical bill, it can ruin a family's finances. This creates a cycle where people are just trying to survive, with no hope of making their lives better. Landlords are also facing challenges. While some people think landlords are just being greedy when they raise rents, many landlords are also dealing with higher costs for things like utilities, property taxes, and repairs. Sometimes, raising rent is the only way for landlords to cover their expenses, but this doesn't make it any easier for renters who are already struggling. One of the biggest problems is the lack of affordable housing for middle-income families. Experts call this the missing middle. It means there aren't enough townhouses, duplexes, and smaller single-family homes that middle-income people can afford. Builders are making more luxury apartments and expensive houses for rich people, ignoring what the middle class needs. This trend is clear in cities where land is expensive. Builders want to make more money, so they build fancy units for wealthy buyers. This leaves a big gap in the market for affordable but good quality housing. Middle-class families have to choose between expensive rentals or moving to less desirable areas far from jobs and good schools. The consequences are serious. People have long commutes, spend more on transportation, and have less time for family and community. The stress of not having stable housing can hurt mental health and overall well-being. When middle-income families can't afford houses, it leads to a more divided society where only the very rich and very poor remain. Adding to these problems is a tough job market. While unemployment rates look low on paper, the reality for job seekers is much harder. Many people are applying for dozens of jobs but only getting a few callbacks. About 55% of unemployed adults say they feel burned out from looking for work. This makes it even harder for people to improve their financial situation and keep up with rising rents. For those who do have jobs, wages haven't kept up with inflation. Since 2020, real wage growth has been less than 1%. This means that even people with jobs are finding it hard to afford basic necessities. Many feel stuck in jobs that don't pay enough to cover their living expenses, let alone save for the future. On top of this, it's now more expensive to borrow money. This makes it harder for people to get loans for things like buying a home or starting a business. As a result, it's even more difficult for people to stop renting and start owning homes, which is often seen as an important step towards financial stability. The problems of homelessness, high rents, and a tough job market are all connected. They're making life harder for America's middle class. These issues are complex, but it's worrying that those in power aren't doing much to solve them. The future of America's middle class depends on finding real solutions to these challenges. We need to address the root causes and create effective policies to ensure everyone has a chance to live securely and do well in life.
What do you guys think about the homeless situation in the United States? Do you think it is getting out of control? Please leave it in the comment below. We would love to hear what you think. Thank you for making it this far. If you like this video, you might want to share it with a like-minded friend. Thank you, and as always, stay blessed.